7:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends and welcome on in to a Thursday, July 10th of 2025. So it's not in my nature to purposely try to trigger people, but I'm going to make an exception because I found a piece of audio that I really would like Joan Jones, her opinion, her reaction to this piece of audio. Joan, you ready?
I am ready.
So this is Michelle Obama and Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Listen.
Women, we have so many landmines and barriers and don'ts and limitations. It's, I mean, Craig, you're the guy at the table, but I think it's important for all guys listening, especially men raising daughters, to realize that difference, and that thing that inadvertently, as you are loving and raising these beautiful girls, there are so many rules that make us small.
Baked in without our knowing it,
Yeah.
And I wish I could, I remember people saying, oh, well, she's a female doctor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As opposed to just, she's a doctor.
I mean, now, number one, Michelle Obama is worth, tens of millions of dollars. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, she is also worth, I think, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Oh, yes.
So, there's so many things that I've written down here, but what do you say to that?
I say they've got a lot of nerve, for one. And the access that they have been, especially the Obama daughters, have been afforded, and the access, the security they have had, the opportunities. They have a lot of guts going on about how they haven't had, they're held to a certain standard. Oh, it's the woman doctor. In a lot of cases, me in particular, I can speak from my heart. I want the woman doctor. I'm saying she's the woman doctor because I want the woman doctor. And I think a lot of women feel that way.
I think that what they're spewing in that soundbite, number one, really, are they really going to sit here and have a pity party over, being a woman in America today? That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two is for them to say, men, if you're raising your daughters, make sure you tell them about all the pitfalls and potholes.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, okay, so really? So what you want is men to raise your daughters to have a victim mentality.
Yes.
That's number two. Number three, I hate to break it to them, but men are committing suicide far more than women in today's society.
Yes.
Number four, really rich, coming from these two Democrats, the party who puts men in front of our daughters every single
the way.
day.
Absolutely.
When it comes to the whole transgender movement. So I'm sorry. Please, Michelle Obama and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, please tell us how our daughters have pitfalls. You know who's putting the pitfalls in the potholes in front of our daughters? You
are. Mm-hmm.
The Democrat Party is. Because you've got all of these stories out there. You want to make a little girl feel small? Have a big dude in the locker room with her. And have that big dude who says that he's a female just because he feels like it take her place on a sports team.
And have that dude claim that he's a woman. Women's bodies are so amazing. And there's no way they can begin to replicate that.
No,
but
they can't.
Yeah. And so we can't feel proud of being a woman because that guy wants to say he's a woman too. He doesn't have anything that we have.
So it's so. It is. Their whole thing is just so. And I heard that, and I'm like, this is what you're going with. And then I love how they're trying to shame old Craig there. Michelle Obama's brother, I guess, or cousin, whatever it is. Yeah, you need to tell your daughters. It's like, why would you tell your daughter that she's going to be a victim?
Yeah.
I could say, you know what? If you've got a daughter, be sure and tell them that they're going to be a victim of the Democrat Party all of their lives. Because that's ultimately what the Democrats want to do.
Yeah.
I could also go down the road, since I'm on a roll here, Would you like to talk about how the Democrats, they have allowed all of these illegal aliens into our country who have raped and killed women? We could talk about that as well.
Absolutely.
Right?
How about the way they've set up women so that they feel like being a stay-at-home mom and being that female at home with your kids is not acceptable, that you've got to go to college and you've got to go have an amazing career doing something else except staying home with your family.
That's a great point. That is an absolutely great point because I have, nothing but the highest of respect, obviously, for stay-at-home moms. By the way, 4702 agrees with you, Joan. I agree with Joan. Women's bodies are amazing. Great job, Joan. You see, I almost said that.
Yeah.
We were having a serious moment. But when you said women's bodies are amazing, I was going to say, yep.
Well, we can give birth to babies. We create little human beings inside our bodies.
There is that.
Yeah.
Listen, I've seen my fair share of babies birthed, man. I don't know how you guys, women, do it. Yeah.
We have a brain fog that stops us from thinking about it, and then we go, let's have another one.
And it's that brain fog that also helps you deal with the men in your life.
I just want to know what the fog is that my husband has that helps him deal with me.
By the way, the other thing that I would say about all of that, Joan, and any man will tell you that if we could have the baby for you, we certainly would. She's not buying
texters, yeah, you want to weigh in on that because I just don't think.
Mario says, how many aborted babies have been girls? Let's see here.
Yeah, and that's another thing. How about the abortion industry and telling girls that it's freeing and that you don't have to have that baby and your life can go on? That catches up with you later on, ladies.
Yeah, it does. I can't tell you how many monologues about women, and I don't want to get too serious here, but women who have had abortions, and there are two dates that they always remember. Number one is the date they had the abortion, and number two is the date that baby would have been born.
Absolutely.
I've known women who have had abortions, and that's what two have said to me.
And this is what Democrats want you to do and fight for you to do. Tooth and nail.
Yep. That's exactly right.
It's despicable.
1313 says, shut up, Dan. What did I say? I don't even know what I said. Speak for... Did I say something? Another one says, speak for yourself, Dan.
Oh.
Somebody is saying, what did I say?
You said that men would take the place of women in the birthing room.
I thought everybody knew that was a joke. Apparently not.
On me having a baby for a woman? No thanks, Dan. That was 3560.
All right, moving right along. It is 7:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. 7:15, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. As far as your weather goes, a high of 92, scattered thunderstorms as well. And appreciate you listening. Really sad story that Joan is reporting this morning, where one of the people out celebrating on the 4th of July and got hit. Joan, was it by a stray bullet?
By a stray bullet that came straight down from the sky.
So somebody shoots, every year. Yep. Every year we have some dummy who thinks it's a good idea to shoot a gun into the sky, knowing that it's going to come down.
Yeah.
And so the guy, I guess probably got shot in the head, like as if the bullet was coming down? Or
lodged in his brain. Yeah. And he never regained consciousness. And his wife posted this just amazing tribute to him. And, she had hope that he would wake up and it would be well. But has come to the realization that it wasn't going to happen. And so they took him off life support and they donated his organs so that others may live. And it's just such a sad story. I think he was 61.
And they just went out to celebrate the 4th of July.
Yep.
And do we know where he was? Was that in Nashville?
That was Tims Ford State Park.
Tims Ford State Park, okay.
Yeah.
Did they know who shot the gun up in the air?
That's a great question. I have never seen a story that says if they found that person. They were at Twin Creeks Marina Drive.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know exactly
by
where that
there.
is. I've
Yeah.
been there many times. Well, if they find that person, obviously, I don't know what you would charge that person with. I
Right.
mean, it seems like you got your reckless endangerment, you've got your manslaughter, and that person does need to be put away for life because clearly we know at this point in July of 2025 that you shoot a gun up in the air, that bullet is going to come back down.
It's a crazy. Why would somebody do that? They're not thinking
They're just dumb.
clearly.
People
Yeah.
who do that are just, and trust me when I say, I'm a biggest Second Amendment supporter as you're ever going to find. But shooting your gun carelessly, part of being a Second Amendment supporter is appreciating the responsible use of a gun
and the absolute power of that gun.
and the power of a gun. That's the thing about.
Yeah.
Did you see that video? I think it was in Chicago of that shootout. It took the internet by storm the other day.
Yes.
And
yes.
it was at like some sort of a birthday party or something. And I mean, you had all these guns going off. I don't know how many. I don't know if anybody was killed. Maybe they were. Maybe they weren't. But every time I go to the Glock store, and I'm going to get done preaching, but every time I go to the Glock store and I fire my gun and I continue with my training, and they do great training at the Glock store, I am reminded every time I pull that trigger, the power of that gun. And I can't even imagine the mentality of somebody saying, yeah, I'm just going to shoot my gun up in the air and hopefully that bullet won't come down and lodge into somebody's brain. Do you know what I mean? I don't even understand how a responsible gun owner does that. So anyway, moving right along. So if we find out who that person is, if they find someone, they can trace that bullet, they can figure out who that is, we'll certainly let folks know. Let's see, 9292, that was in Philadelphia.
That was in Philadelphia.
Of course it was in
on,
Philadelphia.
it was in the front porch.
It's a block party.
Yes.
You know, maybe they were celebrating the fact that the trash people are going to now pick up the trash in Philadelphia.
Won't that be nice?
Because, they settled the trash strike there in
9
Philadelphia.
days after it started.
Do you know what I've had to do in my house? I've had a raccoon. We've had a raccoon that has been terrorizing my home for the past 2 weeks.
I had one of them before.
It's like they are diving deep into my trash can, getting my stuff. And then I come out in the middle of the night to come to work, and I've got like wrappers and all kinds of stuff strewn all about my driveway.
So do you have a lid on your trash cans?
Yes.
I know they get under lids.
They open the lid.
Yeah. So is the trash can anywhere near something that they can get up on to gain access?
It is actually my little meter thing.
Yeah. So get it away from the meter. Make sure you separate trash cans so they can't get on one trash can and get into the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've gone through this.
Well, you know what I've done? I've put 2 big rocks on top of my trash can. So now every time I take the trash out, I've got to take these stupid rocks off. But, I mean, it's all I know how to do.
Dan, there's another way of doing this.
What's that?
You have guns from the Glock store, correct?
I'm not going to shoot a raccoon.
Why not?
Shoot the raccoon, Dan. Should we make this a poll question? Should Dan shoot the raccoon?
Oh, yes. I like that.
I'm not going to shoot the raccoon.
But what if the audience said,
if people want me to shoot the raccoon, I'm not going to do it because I don't believe that is a responsible
I think we
use
should
of
make
a gun.
I think we should make it a poll question and leave it out to our listeners.
I'm with him.
Let the people
I've been
decide.
outvoted 2-1. Should Mandis?
Yeah.
So you know what happens if I'm going to shoot my raccoon.
Make sure it's in the head.
Then what I need to do is I need to stake outside. I need to like hide in the bushes and wait till the stupid raccoon comes and then shoot it.
I don't see the problem here.
And listen, I think I'm a pretty good shot, but raccoons are pretty small. And I've never actually killed a living thing before.
You kind of have to wait till nighttime because they're nocturnal.
Oh, yeah.
And
I've taken the nighttime training at the Glock store, but I'm still not certain that I could take out that raccoon.
Who knows? It might be a good steak to have later on.
I'm not going to eat a raccoon.
If you cook it right with the right seasoning, anything's delicious.
No, we're not going to do that.
People are on my side of the chat right now.
Oh, I know they are. I don't care.
Separate your trash cans. Get them away from the meter.
Yes. There you go. Joan, would you shoot a raccoon?
Wait, someone says it's the state animal. Is that true?
A raccoon cannot be the state animal of the state of Tennessee.
Someone said do not shoot the state animal. 1313 said that.
What is the
Yeah.
state?
There's no
animal?
way.
There's
The
no way.
raccoons.
There's no way.
Why would they?
It will be a beagle, if
Let's see.
anything.
A beagle? Like a dog?
The
Tennessee-
official state animal of Tennessee is the raccoon, designated in 1971.
Okay, well, now you can't shoot it.
Whoa.
Nice going, KGB. You want me to commit a felony?
I said beagle because that's the Vols dog that goes to the starts the games. Like when they go out into the field, they're
Yes.
led by the beagle.
Well, we got to get Governor Lee on the phone because
I
we
hope
got to
I'm right.
we got to get that official state animal changed. We can't have a raccoon as our official state animal.
You would think it's the
Oh, I'm sorry.
snake. You're
I'm
not
sorry.
allowed to hurt snakes either.
Hold on, before I get crap, it's a blue tick coonhound is Smoke. That's Smokey. That's the Vols dog, a coonhound. So
Okay.
before anyone freaks out over the chat, I'm sorry, I mistaken the breeds. I'm not good with dog breeds at all.
All right, very good. So I'm off the hook, Joan. I don't have to kill the raccoon. It's moving on. It's 7:23.
We learned something though.
Yeah.
That
Well-
was brand new information for me. I did not know
I
a raccoon
wanna
was
know,
our state animal.
I want to know why in the world our state animal is a.
Yeah, it doesn't
is
make
a-
any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense at all. You know who's going to be coming in, actually? I got to pull this up real quick to get his official title. Maybe he'll have some.
The chat's going on me about the dog. I got it wrong. Leave me alone. Stop putting it in the text.
So Stuart McWhorter is going to be coming
Oh,
in.
yeah.
You know, the state development guy,
Yeah.
Commissioner, Department of Economic and Community Development. I'm going to tell Stuart McWhorter we need to change the official animal for the state of Tennessee.
I'm
That-
sure he's going to
Is he going to hop right on that?
be right on it.
You're going to text Governor Lee and say, hey, Gov, Manda says we need to change this, official state animal. And then what would the state animal be?
Yeah, that's
if
a
it
good
wasn't
question.
the raccoon, what would it be?
I think that's a better poll question.
It's
but
not going to be the Vols dog, whatever it is. But I think we could certainly do better than a raccoon, and we really have got to go. It's 7:24, Nashville's Morning News. Joan was coming up.
Yeah, we have the Secret Service suspensions and also a local job fair that could attract a lot of attention today. That coming up here at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7:36, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you. All right, so apparently the reason why, and then I'm moving on, I promise, but apparently the reason why, Joan, that the raccoon is the state animal
Okay.
is because of Davy Crockett and that coon cap.
Oh, okay. Well, that kind of makes sense.
So I want to
like
make
that.
sure. I want to make sure everybody understands, though, the reason why the raccoon is our state animal is because of a dead raccoon.
Oh,
So it's okay to shoot the
yeah.
raccoons then.
That's right.
I mean, we've come full
So
circle.
the official
Yeah.
animal. So when
Ta-da.
you shoot them, then they're the official animal.
That's exactly right. The only official raccoon for the state of Tennessee is a dead.
A dead raccoon.
A head warming.
It's exactly
Raccoon.
right.
When you get arrested, they'll be like, no, it's based off a dead raccoon. The state animal's a dead raccoon.
All right, moving right along.
It's
It is
representing my state.
7:37. All right, so now we know, you heard Joan talking about this, that 6 Secret Service agents have been suspended, not fired, for anywhere from 10 days to 42 days without pay, as the investigation into the assassination attempt on Donald Trump is apparently now complete. Now, it is insanity that no one has been fired. Now, remember how horrified we were on that day, and of course in the days that followed, when we started hearing about just how completely incompetent the Secret Service was on that day. And it wasn't the incompetence, it wasn't just on that day, but it was in, the run up to the event as well, as Donald Trump was left completely vulnerable up on that stage. And so the more that we found out, and by the way, as you know, Donald Trump, had he not turned his head just a little bit, he would have been dead. He would have been dead. And so now we were all, of course, horrified on that day. But then when we started finding out how lackadaisical the Secret Service seemed. So I'm going to let's take a trip down memory lane, shall we? And we're not even at a year yet, are we? What was the date? Was it July 13th? It was July
yeah.
13th. So we're a couple of days away from the 1-year anniversary. But couple of sound bites just to remind you as to how inept the Secret Service was. There was this comment from Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle.
That building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point. And so, there's a safety factor that would be considered there, that we wouldn't want to put somebody up on a sloped roof. And so, the decision was made to secure the building from inside.
So there's a reason why Kimberly Cheadle, former Secret Service Director, was resigning in disgrace. That comment was one of them. Because I want you to remember that she said that you couldn't put Secret Service on a sloped roof, even though the shooter was on the very same exact sloped roof. That's number one. And number two, in the congressional investigations that followed, you had like 60, 70-year-old congressmen and senators on that very same sloped roof. And I'm reasonably certain, and I said this earlier, I'm reasonably certain that a lot of the people in our Secret Service are former military, maybe even served in Afghanistan with some pretty rocky and crazy terrain. So I don't know where that whole you can't put Secret Service members on a sloped roof came from. But I think it was at that moment that we were all like, are you kidding me? So that's number one. Then, of course, remember also, and by the way, for a lot of you that have been listening, for the last, year, whatever, some of this is review to you, but there's a lot of new people that are listening every single day to Nashville's Morning News. Thank you. So this is for those people, a review for you, and maybe some new information to some of the other people that are just joining us on the broadcast. So the crowd, remember that day when the crowd incredibly saw the shooter on that sloped roof, rifle in hand, laying down, and they tried to warn the local law enforcement.
Yeah, someone's on top of the roof. Look. There he is right there. Right there, see him? He's laying down. You see him?
Yeah, he's laying down.
Yeah, look. There he is.
Now, if you haven't seen that video, go to my X feed at Dan Mandis Show, and you'll see that video. Now, remember, as part of the investigation, we found out that Secret Service and the local authorities, they knew that the guy was up there for 10 minutes before Donald Trump spoke, and then 20 minutes before he opened fire. Yet they did nothing. Inadequate planning, inadequate coordination. Nobody was watching that roof. Do you know where everybody was? Inside of that building. And I do you know what's so funny? I have not heard one person who could actually tell me why putting the Secret Service inside of that building was, from a strategic standpoint, a smart thing to do if you're trying to protect the president who is outside, right? They weren't watching what they call the line of sight vulnerabilities, which basically means that the shooter had a clean shot right at Donald Trump's head. Yet we find out today, nobody fired. They are suspended for 10 to 42 days. And that's it.
Are they paid while they're on suspension?
No pay,
Okay.
they say.
I mean, it is a ridiculous slap on the wrist,
Oh,
but it would be like a stab in the eye if they were getting paid while they're off too.
that was one of the first things I looked up is, are they getting paid for this? Now, one media outlet said, the Daily Mail said, no, they're not getting paid. But here's my question, Joan. Are they being allowed to take vacation pay? That kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know how sometimes you're suspended. Would you go take a vacation? And you can take it as vacation
Yeah.
pay. Vacation pay, sick pay, we don't know. By the way, radios were not working, also not compatible, because they had local and Secret Service law enforcement as well. So they all had different radios. So either they were not working or they weren't compatible. Remember about all of the vulnerabilities that they discussed about the roof, and yet nobody was watching the roof. Yet during the testimony, the guy in charge, remember this whole thing? Guy named Ronald Rowe, who was testifying in front of Congress, he actually got really defensive and he started screaming.
I actually responded to Ground Zero. I was there going through the ashes of the World Trade Center.
Mm-hmm.
I was there at Fresh Kills.
I'm not asking you that.
I was
I'm asking
there,
you
Congressman.
were you the special agent in charge?
To show respect
You were not.
for a Secret
That's
Service
a bunch of
member
horse hockey.
that died on 9/11.
Oh, that you're trying to be.
Do not invoke 9/11 for political purposes.
Oh, that I'm not. I'm invoking this.
You are, sir.
Gentlemen,
And you are out of line.
I would like to ask him a question. Please.
You are
Order.
out of line,
Order.
Congressman.
He
A little
was out of line.
defensive. Oh, completely.
He was absolutely, because what he's trying to do was he was trying to deflect by saying, I was at 9/11 or whatever it was. And it's like, okay, but that doesn't matter right now. Because right now what happened is you almost got a president killed. It was obvious what he was trying to do. So they knew about the vulnerabilities, yet they weren't watching the vulnerabilities. They knew that there's always going to be a threat to Donald Trump's life. That is just a day in the life of Donald Trump and a day in the life of the Secret Service. But one of the things that I thought was interesting was, and Joan and I spoke about this in the 5 o'clock hour, how bad was it in Butler, Pennsylvania? It was so bad that there's only really two options, and neither one of them is good when looking at what happened. We'll talk about that straight ahead. It is 7:45. Time to check the roads on WTN. As far as your weather goes, a high of 92 today and scattered thunderstorms as well. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 at WTN. When this whole thing started, and again, the genesis of this entire segment is that the Secret Service has not fired anybody. After the investigation apparently is now complete in the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, they have suspended 6 people, supposedly without pay. They're not telling us who got suspended. But I remember thinking, and we all thought it. I know I talked about it. I can't speak for anybody else. But I thought that this was all intentional. That's the only thing that I could come up with. When you look at all of the things that the Secret Service failed at, you think, this has to be intentional. They were intentionally leaving the president vulnerable so that he would be killed by an assassin. That's the only thing that I could think of. That's how bad the Secret Service was on that day and in the days leading up to. Either that or they are just so incredibly incompetent. Now, I choose to believe that they were just incompetent. It is just hard for me to believe that they were that incompetent. They had radio issues. They weren't working. Again, they weren't compatible with local law enforcement. And that all comes back to the fact that there was limited, when they did the run up to the event, they didn't do what they're supposed to do, which is look at the event site and figure everything out, in the run up to. They didn't do any of that. Yet during the testimony, the guy in charge, again, guy's name is Ronald Rowe, got into that shouting match with one member of Congress, and then Josh Hawley totally called him out.
Is it not prima facie that somebody has failed? A former president was shot.
Sir, this could have been our Texas school book depository. I have lost sleep over that for the last 17 days,
Then
just like you
fire
have.
somebody to
and I will
hold them
tell you,
accountable.
Senator, I will tell you, Senator, that I will not rush to judgment, that people will be held accountable, and I will do so with integrity and not rush to judgment and put people
I can't believe
unfairly
that you
persecuted.
are unfairly persecuted.
Unfairly,
We've got people
sir,
who are
we
dead.
have to be able to have a proper investigation into this, Senator.
So you had the proper investigation and still nobody fired. Unbelievable. I would love to know, and I hope that President Trump, I hope that somebody asks him this question. What do you think about the fact that no one has been fired? Now, and again, let's also not forget there was a firefighter, a retired firefighter that was, you just heard Josh Hawley say, people were killed. Corey Comprator was killed. 2 others, by the way, were injured, a guy by the name of David Dutch and another named James Copenhaver. And you heard Josh Hawley in that soundbite from about a year ago that someone needs to be fired. But apparently nobody is going to be fired. And that's really incredibly sad. Part of this is that you have, at the time, right, it was a year ago, you had so many other Biden-related issues related to incompetency. Not only, of course, Biden's brain, but everywhere you looked, there were examples of the past administration and the administration's clumsiness.
Is it acceptable that you have still not heard, at least publicly, from the Secret Service director?
Oh, I've heard from him.
So remember that when Joe Biden said,
oh, I've heard from him.
And the Secret Service director was a woman, Kimberly Cheadle. I mean, we all talked about that. And so for the Secret Service, to me, the fact that nobody is really being held accountable for this, I think it is an absolute disgrace. And I think that this is just another failure with the Secret Service. So apparently, by the way, this decision was made by the Secret Service Office of Professional Responsibility and the Office of Integrity. And by the way, they have not named any specific person who has been suspended, and I wonder if we'll ever find out who that person is. Just, it is incredibly and absolutely shameful that nobody is getting fired, because the history of our country could have taken a hugely different turn on that horrific day. It is 7:50, and Joan Jones is in the WTN Newsroom. Joan.
Hey, guess what Susie Wiles has to say about Elon Musk? We've got that coming up here at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.